Welcome to Fantasy Football for Everyone with Alex, Art, and Dave.
What's up, everybody? This is Alex.
This is Art.
This is Dave.
And this is Fantasy Football for Everyone. Sorry we've been away a couple weeks, guys. We took a clean 17 days off, but we're back off our mock draft episode. We're ready to talk about our latest rendition of our partnership with RotoWire, which is the new, well, I don't know if it's new, but it is the fantasy football tool that RotoWire has to offer. Use promo code F4E for 10% off your first purchase with the fantasy football tool with RotoWire and the smart money tool. And today we are going to talk about a little bit about OTAs. OTAs opened up today. We're going to let Dave lead with that. Then we're going to talk about the smart money tool and how we're using that to enhance our fantasy football experience and also how to dominate our leagues. Like, that's what we want. We want an edge, and that's what the fantasy football tool with RotoWire does. And then we have a special announcement. We have started off the F4E Invitational. So each of us have chosen 3 legacy members from our separate leagues that we play with, and we have brought them all together to, first of all, create another fun league that's tied into your favorite fantasy football podcast, but also to see whose friends are better at fantasy football, like see whose leagues are tougher than each other's. Like, if I have a team, if I have a friend, or if I am in last place finish, like Dave and I are going to be talking shit. So explain what we're doing with the F4E Invitational tonight, Art, if you don't mind, because I've been talking for a couple minutes and I need a sip of my beer.
Yeah, no, you deserve a sip of your beer. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll tell you that. We've invited some really classy guys and some probably really trashy guys ultimately to be involved in the league, because you don't need you don't need to be the most upstanding citizen to be good at fantasy football, but you do need to hold to your word. So getting involved in this league is something we want guys who are going to be involved, or guys or girls who are going to be involved for some time. They're committed to maintaining rosters. These are not folks who, you'll be cursing at the end of the year because they let their roster go to sleep. We refuse to involve people like that. And I can't wait to introduce my guys as we get later into the pod, because there are some wild cards for sure.
Yeah, guys, this is the Kumite of fantasy football is what this is. This is the best of the best. And I'm very anxious to see how our boys stack up against each other.
So we bring up that F4E Invitational because at the end of this pod, we are going to select the draft order for the people participating in the league this year, and it is a Dynasty league, so furthermore. But let's introduce them now, guys. Dave, who'd you bring to the league? Do a quick spot about who you brought in, why you brought him in, and we'll kind of and then we'll kick off OTAs or training camp.
Real quick then, man. The first guy I asked to be in was, his name is Gordo. He is the longest standing member of the longest league I've been in, which this year we hit our 22nd year in that league.
That's insane.
I believe Gordo has 6 championships in those 22 years, and I think he's played in 9 finals. So
wow.
An outstanding record, and this is not, it's not a completely, this is a real league. We've been at this since we've been scoring on the newspaper. So Gordo, he's kind of my standard for fantasy football. He's the guy I talk to the most in that league. From my family league, I brought in my brother-in-law and my nephew. I thought it was a good chance to get them co-managing a team. My brother-in-law is a 20-year vet of fantasy football, has commissioned several leagues, won numerous championships, and my nephew has that upstart hunger, man. Like, he's got the free time. He's pouring over social media. He's picking up things that, sometimes the old heads are missing. So Andy he's the new blood in my family league, but he has been competitive every year since he's been in it. So I wanted to give those guys a chance to kind of come together like Voltron and see what they could bring to the league, little father-son tandem. And then lastly, I invited in Brian Short from our work and auction league that Art and I are both in. Brian, again, another 20-year fantasy football player. He has introduced me to some very interesting fantasy playoff formats that I'm now running a couple leagues with and doing with friends. And he's just a fantasy enthusiast, man. I mean, he's doing, Final Four NCAA basketball tournaments. And I mean, the kid plays fantasy in every format that you can imagine. He's diehard about it. And again, in 2 decades in the game. So that's the crew I'm bringing to the table. And I think we can hold our own.
Wow, I did not realize we had a co-commissioner team in the league, like doubling up.
Oh, yes.
And that all sounds great. 22-year league since the newspapers. That's legendary, Dave. Like, that's really a crazy thing to think about. I never had to do that, but what you got, Art? Who'd you bring to the league? You look very excited to introduce your group of degenerates you brought in.
I am excited because only one of the 3 knows that I'm talking about this on the pod as we speak. I ran into him at our neighborhood pool where we all belong, and he was just literally like cheesing so hard. So without further ado, we'll start off with him. My guy, Stefan Style. Okay. He is a country boy through and through, but a gentleman to the highest degree. And that may be the only time I tell him that, especially in public. Stefan, don't forget that. But
to the world,
he is married to a beautiful woman named Natalie. Yeah, to the world. We can't tell the world about this. This is one time. His wife, Natalie, a supposed Navy SEAL. Supposed Navy SEAL.
Supposed.
They have 3 kids. They're fantastic. Yeah. Oh, she's tougher than him. No question about it. Like, no doubt. He brings in one of the wildest people I've met in some time. My guy, Tommy Thorpe. And here's how I sum Tommy up, right? Self-proclaimed great-great-grandson of the all-world athlete, gold medal winning Jim Thorpe, right?
What? Like, why would you tell people that?
Tommy is.
Why would you tell people that?
Well, look, I'm just being honest with you.
Not you. Like, why would he?
Why
would he tell people that? Like, cool.
He doesn't know. I'm telling people that. That's
fine. That's a literal cool story, bro.
Tommy is best known for having too many White Claws. And a few years ago at a Steelers game, he puked on 5 fans.
Oh, 5
fans. So shame on Tommy.
Could have potentially been 6 or 7.
People. Yes.
Yeah. Like there's some backsplash.
You know
there.
what?
That's crazy.
Really, how he didn't hit more people, I'm like blown away. Now for the most veteran of the 3. Yeah, well, that's Tommy for you. You can't wait to meet him. The most veteran of the 3, Matty the Beer Man Pollock from Brentwood, Pennsylvania. He is large in stature, big man, big heart, wonderful guy. Absolutely have loved Matt for years and years and years. We co-manage a high-stakes team at a club here outside of Pittsburgh. And let me tell you what, he is an absolute gentleman. So when I say vagrants and gents, like Matt is on the gentleman side, Tommy, all the White Claws and puking on people. So Tommy, you're not atop the list for gentlemen, just being real. But Matt is an absolute staple. He has been in high stakes leagues, I believe, since he came out of kindergarten. So Matt has done it all, and he's like my I'd have to say like my fantasy mentor of sorts. So
wow,
look, I'm bringing heat, folks. I'm bringing heat.
Just real quick here, when you say you guys co-manage a team at a club, let's tell people what that's about. That's not like you're making your waiver moves in person in a shady, smoke-filled room once a week. If you're not there in person, you don't get a move. Like this is, some people in this league could be connected. We don't know for sure, but there could be some connections in this league.
Look,
what is happening right now?
We're in a second league. That was the Dutch Club League. What's wild about this Dutch Club League, and Dave's right. Dave is so right. He's so right. He can never be wrong. Man. This Dutch Club League, okay. It really only this Dutch Club League, the reception is so bad. If you're not there on a weekly basis, you ain't getting a call or the text. Wow. It's not going to get to you. It's wild. Absolutely. Now, the league we're in this year is a little more updated as far as technology is concerned, and there's no smoking. So we're a little healthier this year. But nice. Yeah, it is. It's a real deal. It's a real deal. You got to be there in person.
No,
Alex, what you got for us? Who you bring?
I mean, that is phenomenal information, guys. All right, so my 3 guys that I brought to the league. The first guy is the OG, my boy Pip Pluck, also known as Rob, his government name. But yeah, that's been my best friend for life. And we started fantasy football together. So had to bring him in, had to make sure. I mean, he and our longest league we've been together in has been about 13, 14 years now. And he's won multiple championships in that league. So he is definitely bringing the fire. And as long as he doesn't drink too many tequila shots the night of the draft, because he did that in a startup draft a couple years ago. And then this past season, he ended up as the number 2 worst league. So hopefully he learned his lesson. But my number 2 guy, my boy Muckin, Muck, we actually did a previous fantasy football pod together, the OTL podcast. And when we started the pod, he wasn't super into fantasy, but I'm telling you, like, that podcast started 10 years ago. And, like, this guy has grown into, we call him the Muckernaut, because he's literally a juggernaut, like, in fantasy, in real life. Like, he looks like the juggernaut. Like, he is, like, a beast. And he's always, like, one step ahead. Like, he was on Amon-Ra before anybody else. Like, he took him super early in the first round of a rookie draft. And, like, we're like, dude, what are you doing? And, like, look at him now. Wide receiver 3 past 3 years in a row. So, Muck's definitely down to, he's going to be a challenge. And then my last choice was between three of my buddies, 3 of my homies in the Dangerous Knights crew chat. That's Jesse and Ryan Boyle. They were part of our mock draft and the episode we did a couple weeks ago. And then my boy Dev, who is just in like 30,000 fantasy leagues. So I literally just sent out the invite in the group chat. Whoever hits it first gets it. And my boy Ryan Boyle, glazing him on the last pod for the mock draft. He jumped right on it. He's ready to come. He's ready to dominate. My fantasy rival, who thinks he dominates me, but he knows what the record is and where I've kicked his ass. So we're gonna, my crew's coming. All and right. Not rooting for my guys because I want to beat my guys, but that they are definitely some fantasy pros.
So Alex, I have to say, if Ryan Boyle doesn't come in and his team name is R Boyle Rules, I got problems. Okay, because it's got to be like the Boyle Rules. You got to throw it back to Chris Farley. If he's not R Boyle Rules, I'm not interested.
Yeah, he'll be booted. He'll be booted after the draft. Don't worry. So we'll get into the draft content at the end of this pod. Right. But Dave, kick us off. Training camp just has started over the past 5 days. Hit us with some news. Let's get into a little bit of some opinions here, and then we'll roll into some RotoWire fantasy tool takes.
We've been doing this pod for a little while, but it feels like football's back. Like,
yes,
we're there. As of yesterday, all 32 teams into training camp, both rookies and veterans. The teams are in. This is where it starts to get fun. We can start counting down to the mock drafts. We can start watching all the reports out of camp to see what we need to be doing. And, this is where I start to get giddy, man. This is where I start to get giddy. So that's exactly where we're going to start. We're going to start with camp. We're going to take a quick little run around the league. Just some, notable players that are starting on PUP. Some hold-ins, some hold-outs, a couple things we're going to want to be watching as we head through training camp here. You guys can kick some feedback here whenever you think it makes sense. But let's start with some notable people on the PUP list. Alex, I had to do you a favor and start with your Packers.
Yep.
Obviously, we got Micah Parsons starting on the PUP list.
Yep.
It's not, overwhelming for a lot of what we're going to be talking about for fantasy, but it does make a big difference in your squad. But, Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, top 2 tight ends on your roster. Tucker Kraft, tight end 1 at the point when he went down last year, also starting camp on the PUP list. So that's something to watch. 49ers, up to their old tricks, man. We're not a day into this thing, and the 49ers are already decimated yet again. So we start with Kittle on the PUP list. We got both Isaac Guerrero and Jordan James from the running back crew, both. So Isaac Guerrero on the PUP, Jordan James hurt today with a fractured rib. Don't know what the timeline looks on that. Could become a pain tolerance thing, but that's going to put a little emphasis on Kalen Black, the rookie. So we're going to want to watch that as we play. Does it give him a chance to kind of stamp the number 2 job as we move through camp? Ricky Pearsall dealing with swelling from his PCL injury last year. Christian Kirk with a calf strain early, and some beat reporters saying they don't expect him to be ready for week 1. So what does that mean for Deshaun Stribling? So we've already got 5 skill position players down. You've been riding Stribling since we started this thing at the beginning of the summer. And like I say, man, we're a day in the 49ers down 5 skill position players already. So, I mean, that's par for the course with those guys.
Dave, we're a day in. I'm already right.
No, go ahead.
Like, I'm taking from you. I'm trying to take after you, man.
No, the Stribling thing is looking a bit prophetic at this point. And honestly, I thought Kyle Shanahan had offered himself up as sacrifice. When we got this word about the car accident, I thought he took one for the team and said, just take it out on me. Let these guys be. But it did not seem to work. So.
Here's the problem. Dave, here's the problem. I love that take, but it was really – he was just with Tony Romo last week. That's the problem. He let Tony Romo drive him last week.
Yo, you take the keys. I still got a job. You'll be fine.
And they're both in it together now, man. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, listen, guys, the Niners up to their old tricks. Couple other things, notable people on the pup heading in. Alec Pierce from the Colts, off his big contract this year and looking to head up that receiving room, starts camp on the pup list. Zach Charbonnet in Seattle, also going to start the season on the pup list. We, optimistic reports are we see him maybe October, but there are some other reports saying November. That's going to be something that we have to watch play out as the season progresses. But, bumping Jadarian Price up early part of the season here. And then, just another one of note, not on the pup, but the NFI list is Chris Bell, rookie wide receiver out of the Dolphins. And I bring him up mostly because we'll be doing some Dynasty stuff later, but also because I'm not sure there is a wide receiver room in the league that is more open than the Miami Dolphins. I mean, when you're talking Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell penciled in as starters currently, a strong preseason could put Chris Bell in that conversation immediately. So, I do think that bears watching. That obviously the NFI is non-football related or non-injury related stuff. So hopefully that passes quickly, but Chris Bell not there to start the week. Couple other things I think that we at least need to take note of. These are not things we're panicking on or anything of that left, but both Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs sitting on the sidelines to start the week. Both of those guys pursuing new contracts. Jahmyr supposedly had a little bit of an illness issue or something, but, I do think it's worth taking note that the basically number 1 and number 2 consensus picks on a number of people's boards are at least not practicing to start camp. And I think we can pretty clearly project that that's contract related. So something to keep an eye on. But again, we're not at the point where we're panicking on any of that. I think a couple guys that we want to pay attention to as we review this pup list are a couple notable names who are not on that pup list. And I'm going to start that off in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and Rashee Rice. Because, we were all kind of watching Rashee Rice rehab his knee in prison. Everybody knew Patrick Mahomes was pushing for a week 1 timeline, but we weren't really sure if that was realistic with the timing of his injury last year. Mahomes fully cleared for training camp practices, which we know are non-contact. So, we don't want to get too hyped on this. And Rashee Rice also cleared to practice. Another very notable name as it pertains to us, not starting on the pup list, is Malik Neighbors. And I think between limping through softball games and the number of times his name has come up in the offseason, that there was some concern for Malik Neighbors and what that looked like. They go out and spend a first-round draft pick on a wide receiver, and you start to wonder how much are they trusting this guy. So Malik Neighbors is running routes. He's running drills to start practice. And that's a good place to be. You guys have any thoughts on any of those?
I have thoughts on all of that. I'll run through it real quick, Dave. All right, you don't mind?
Give them to me.
If I just run? All right.
Yeah.
Packers.
No, please do. I only have 2 points afterwards.
Beautiful. Tucker Craft on POP. We knew that was going to happen. I mean, that opened up 2 roster spots for me in 2 different leagues. So I was like, all right, that's great. Throw him on IR. Let's pick up players we need. And we knew that was going to happen. He is pushing for week 1. So we'll see how that goes. But if Tucker Craft remains on POP, I mean, that's just locked in for Packers receivers who were already dialed into at F4E. So the Niners, again, we knew this was going to happen. At least, I was really locked into there's going to be some injury concerns in San Francisco. So I think Deshaun Stribling will get opportunities sooner than later, but I'm also fine if he gets them later. But, I mean, as time goes with the Niners, Pearsall, injury-riddled, Evans, injury-riddled last year, CMC coming off 400 touches, that doesn't have good history, Kittle starting on PUP, and he probably won't be back by week 1, even though he's pushing for it. So, but the Colts, Alec Pierce on PUP, that's just a lock for Josh Downs and Tyler Warren. Like, Josh Downs is being drafted super late. He's being drafted in the 11th or 12th round. Lock into Josh Downs because he's already getting those training camp reps with Daniel Jones. So, yes, like Art's saying, push him up your draft list. Go get him. Go get him in round 8 as your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. Like, you're locked and loaded. This guy's going to see 10 to 12 targets every single week, even while Jonathan Taylor's getting 25, 30 touches a game.
Love that.
The Seahawks. Oh, the running backs. I think it's just Zach Charbonnet is going to come back sooner than we think. Like, I think he's really pushing for it. It's concerning me because I have bought into Jadarian Price. But we really got to see how, if training camp works out and we hear good news about Jadarian Price and then like they'll hold off Zach Charbonnet. But we know the Seahawks have to run the ball this year in order to be productive, right? Like, Cooper Kupp's not doing anything. AJ Barner, we're kind of higher on collectively, but they didn't improve that wide receiver room, and JSN isn't going to be a top 3 receiver again this year. Like, it's not going to happen. If it happens, I'm wrong, and I'm fine with that, but it's not going to happen. Dolphins, wide receiver room.
Well, I'll
Chris
tell you
Bell.
honestly, Alex, before you keep
Go
going
ahead.
on, man, real quick. Let me jump in there real quick, man, because, to your Zach Charbonnet point, one of the things that I kind of highlighted as we're in these first couple days of camps, we're out of rookie mini camp OTAs. Jadarian Price, several beat writers have made a point to emphasize that he has been very involved in the passing work early on in camp. And that even with Charbonnet coming in, you can expect him to get some early down work. He, again, first round draft capital we're talking about here. And they do at this point project him to be the passing down back, which we know the value of targets. So, I know what you're saying about Charbonnet coming back, but I do think Jadarian Price is going to have his own role in this offense regardless, with a little bit of time to carve out some more early down work to start the season. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
No, don't be sorry, Dave. But, and to your point there, like, they didn't have that role in prior years. They didn't have that role last year with Clint Kubiak. Kenneth Walker averaged under 3 targets a game. So if we're talking about Jadarian Price being a part of the passing role, maybe that's the direction they go in to help out JSN. Hey, let's run more screens. Let's run more quick out routes. Let's run more swings. So to get our rookie running back in open space, and maybe Jadarian Price sees 70, 80 targets, even with Charbonnet coming back between weeks 4 and week 6. So, I mean, that might be a spot where it's like, hey, we're a little bit higher on Jadarian Price than we thought we were going to be. But with the Dolphins, Chris Bell tore his ACL in January with Louisville, I believe. And so this was kind of expected, right? Like, you're not going to come back from an ACL tear 8 months later, especially not as a rookie. But the news out of Miami, at least in OTAs, was Malik Washington was the clear wide receiver 1. And then it was actually Kevin Coleman coming through as a wide receiver 2, and Caleb Douglas did not look as good as Kevin Coleman, even though Caleb Douglas was the first wide receiver drafted by the Dolphins. And on RotoWire rankings, on sleeper rankings, Caleb Douglas isn't anywhere near being drafted. In Dynasty, I think that's something to lock into because that's a very ambiguous wide receiver room with not having any superstars or any like show out. So let's lock into Malik Washington and Kevin Coleman, guys. Yeah, and that's all I had. What you got, Art?
The 2 things I had were just things to be aware of that came out of camp today. The Falcons signed quarterback Cooper Rush. And that is not a good sign for Tua, and it's not really a good sign for Michael Penix Jr. I think certainly he's an insurance policy, but Cooper Rush has seen some time as a starter. When we saw him in Dallas. I mean, clearly not a full-time starter. You're not going anywhere if you're Atlanta. You're limiting your overall ceiling and your potential if you have a guy like Cooper Rush start for a more long-term period. But he's a guy who's consistent, 32-year-old quarterback, easy for me to say, who's seen it all. So I see why they did that. And then the part.
Well, and Tua sat out with back tightness today. I mean, it's not something we're worried about, but Tua actually didn't practice today as Michael Penix continues to rehab from the ACL injury. So Cooper Rush atop the depth chart as we sit here today.
pretty damn wild. Pretty damn wild that they've got that all going on. My other point is one that I think is really astute. I am high on Cam Ward. To all my league mates this year, plug your ears. But, Robert Saleh is a defensive coach, as we very well know, but he's also a guy that's high on accountability and helping his youngsters learn how to do things, right? I think Robert Saleh, albeit, again, a defensive coach, he's a really fair, an understanding of guys with emotional intelligence. He's really a strong, emotionally intelligent coach, and he taps into the talents of his players by understanding them on a more personal level. He said openly about Cam Ward, Cam has all the techniques, all the abilities. We need him to lock in on third down.
Yeah.
Right? The ceiling for Cam Ward is so high. If he's able to convert more third downs for this team, it's going to be a really big difference. And Alex's favorite wide receiver, I think, of the last decade, Wan'Dale Robinson, is there to help that happen. So let's be real, okay? Folks, stop underdrafting Cam Ward. I'm tired of it. Okay, this Cam Ward slander has gone too far. All right? He's in the big leagues. Give him a shot.
I'll tell you what, it's early in the offseason still, or I mean in training camp, but you have hitched your cart officially to Cam Ward's wagon. We will be monitoring this throughout the entire season.
Absolutely.
Yes, you
and
will.
holding you accountable to every word. Just know that. Just know that without question.
Okay, good.
Well, and I love the first of all the quarterback take in
go ahead, Alex.
Atlanta. I think Dave summed it up perfectly. Like, Tua's already suffering injury issues. Like, he's consistent with that, right? And Michael Penix is recovering from one injury that he's done twice before. So yeah, that knee might be a little banged up, but I mean, Michael Penix, guys, I know his numbers were not good last year. I thought they were better, but I'm telling you guys, like, when you look, like, Michael Penix passes the eyeball test. When you watch him play, he looks like a professional quarterback out there. So I would really lean into that, especially quarterback 33 coming off the board. And Art, what was your second point?
About Cam Ward, just really needing to dial in on third downs. It's really
Cam Ward. Dave's dying.
If you can't remember what Art said, just assume it's Cam Ward. You know,
we're gonna leave that one in there. But no, guys, Cam Ward. I mean, I haven't had a chance to watch the quarterback series on Netflix yet, but I've seen clips on Instagram, and like, it's just so encompassing of everything we've already said about Cam Ward. Like, this guy wants to win. He is a dog. He holds himself accountable. He holds his team accountable. The clip I saw was, they won the game, but he didn't like the way they played. And he's like, hey guys, we suck today. Yeah, we came out with a W and that's our job, but like, we did not play well. So let's keep it going. And to have a quarterback that will hold his team accountable to, even if they win, they do not play at the level they need to play at, that is a quarterback you want to invest in, especially in dynasty leagues, especially at quarterback 22 coming off the board, and invest in his receivers. Like, he's going to do what he needs to do. And if Robert Saleh is calling him out for not hitting his third down conversions, you already know they've had those conversations. And we already know what the Titans team was last year. Like, he's not calling out Cam Ward. He's calling out how terrible the organization was last year. And Cam Ward knows that he is part of the solution. So that is beautiful, Art.
Yeah. Hey, guys, let me jump in with just a couple more training camp things not related to injury or people on PUP or anything like that I just think we want to keep an eye on as we continue to roll through the next few weeks here. First, Jalen Carter becomes the highest paid D lineman in the league. Denzel Ward, for the second time, becomes the highest paid D back in the league. That's of note. Jacoby Brissett gets his starter's contract. So for anybody concerned that this was going to drag on and maybe it was either Gardner Minshew or Carson Beck tossing the ball to Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, and Trey McBride, they gave him $21 million plus with some bonuses, so that he's getting starter money. I think we can trust on the efficiency of that offense and look at those guys with confidence. Couple other points to note: Woody Marks and David Montgomery splitting down the middle early in camp. I think when the Texans picked up Montgomery, everybody thought, okay, he's going to get a backfield to himself finally. No more splits with Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't believe that's the Texans' plan. I think they still see a lot in Woody Marks, with Montgomery to take a little bit off his plate. Kind of what they wanted from Nick Chubb last year, I believe, but never really materialized. I think you're going to see Woody Marks in some passing down situations, which again, we love those passing down backs and offenses that can move the ball. Travis Hunter, we're only a couple days in. I think only about 12 snaps, but split dead down the middle between offense and defense. So that offseason talk of Travis Hunter is only going to be playing on the defensive side of the ball doesn't seem to be ringing true. And maybe, we go from Miami, one of the most ambiguous wide receiver rooms, to maybe the most crowded wide receiver room in the league when you talk about Brian Thomas, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers. So you don't know what that snap count looks like, and I think they can use him sparingly. But at least a point of note as we get into this early. And then, I think anybody that's paying attention to fantasy football at this point in the year realizes that currently Tyler Algier is running with the first team ahead of Jeremiah Love in Arizona. I don't know how you invest a top 5 pick in a running back and he doesn't become the focal point of your offense, especially when you have the other pieces that we just discussed with the Brissett contract. You'd like to think by the time we get to the season that evens out. But it's bears monitoring, and Nathaniel Hackett's comments this week certainly deserve our attention as we watch the preseason play out here. So Dave, that's what I got for you guys to start the first day of training camp here.
Dave, I have to say one thing first. When you say Nathaniel Hackett, I think Alex threw up in his mouth from his Packer days. That's the first part. Second thing is,
he was great as a Packer. He was great as a Packer. He was an amazing Packers offensive coordinator. But continue, Art, because I have a point about Nathaniel Hackett that I'll tag in.
All right, I'll get right back to you. I love your Woody Marks take. I am not politically a Marxist, but I am a Woody Marks fan, and I think it is absolutely bunk that Tyler Algier would be getting any significant snaps. I'm certainly not an Algerian in that regard. But yes, Alex, on to your Nathaniel Hackett point, please.
Well, first I wanted to start off with, it's clear that Art loves a good Woody. Like, obviously. Second of all, if you read, all right, so we have a partnership with Draft Nation that Dave, Art, and yours truly, we're writing articles for Draft Nation right now. So make sure you are going to their website, you are subscribing, you're downloading their app mobily, so you will see other takes that we're making on the Draft Nation platform, and also follow them at Real Draft Nation on Instagram. So those are our guys. It's a really cool partnership where we're really allowed to do something different than just, like Art always says, being talking heads on a pod, and we're able to kind of put our thoughts on paper, or on your screen. I had my first, so I have a Read the Room series where I'm basically talking about organizational overlooks, and my first one was the Arizona Cardinals, and before even training camp started, this dropped like a month ago, and my point was I am not buying Jeremiah Love because Nathaniel Hackett is going to ruin him. And we already see it happening. Like, guys, I am locked in this year. I got Stribling, I got the Cardinals. Like, come on, guys. You guys got to listen to F4E. But Nathaniel Hackett is going to give Jeremiah Love probably 70% of the touches he's going to want to get this year. Algier getting those prominent carries is not great because we also have James Conner there in that backfield. Like, he's going to mix it up. Like, that's what Hackett loves to do. He thinks he's outsmarting everybody when it's like, no, put your best players on the field. And that was really my only point to what Dave just said. But there's great that's a great training camp update, especially 2 days in, guys. Here at F4E, we are giving you the takes you need to hear to prepare for your fantasy football drafts. This is the most important time of year when it comes to fantasy football. Of course, we got waivers. Of course, we got trades, but you really need to lock in when it's draft season. But we want to get more into our newest partnership with RotoWire, promoting their fantasy football tool. So Dave's going to kick that off and really give you the value and where he's really seeing a lot of benefit from utilizing this tool.
I appreciate it, Alex. So, I'm going to, again, before we get into this, I just want to remind everybody, about our partnership with RotoWire and the promo code F4E to get 10% off when you sign up for the tool here. And let's give them a little peek behind the curtain, guys. We did a pre-pod here, and I think the coolest part about our pre-pod talk was every single one of us has been using this tool, and every single one of us has been using it in a different fashion, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful thing about this. If this is your first, second, third year in fantasy, you're getting your feet wet, you're starting to love this thing, but you got to take it to the next level. you can jump in here. It's going to prep you for your draft. It's going to customize everything that you have going on with your league. We have the ability to load our leagues in, get customized rankings. You're building out your cheat sheet. You're maximizing lineup building for your scoring system, things of that nature. But if you've been in this thing 10 plus years and you're just geeking out at this point, you can dive as deep as you want to dive on this thing. You can figure out how to maximize wide receiver quarterback stacks by ADP. You got best ball rankings. You have dynasty rankings. You have rookie draft rankings, startup rankings. I mean, you can go as deep as you want. You can break down players' injury histories. One thing that I did a little bit of, and, I went in, looked at some tendencies from last year with some coordinators that moved spots and went some different places, looking what Declan Doyle was doing in Chicago last year as he now kind of moves over to the Ravens to call plays, seeing, what he's doing to get people open and how does that translate over to the Ravens. You can break down wide receiver routes by how many are they running on the outside? How many are they running from the slot? Are they lining up on the right side of the line? Are they lining up on the left side of the line? What are the quarterback tendencies that they're playing with to throw to those sides of the field? So really, the sky is the limit when it comes to utilizing this tool. And, when you add in the ability to customize all of these things to your league, not just random stats and things that you want to dive into, but things that matter for your scoring system, it really opens up, an entire world, man. And, I've never been in the IDP world, but there's full IDP rankings in this thing. They have everything down to who's on your waiver wire that's available. It helps you prioritize your waiver claims throughout the year if you're in a traditional waiver style format for the players that are on the wire. It's going to give you rest of season strength of schedule for these teams, so that as you're week 3, week 4, and you got a guy that's great value, but maybe he's got the hardest strength of schedule rest of the way out at wide receiver, let's start looking at who we can trade that guy for. Let's maximize his value because we know player B over on this side is going to have the opportunity to have, the 28th ranked strength of schedule going down the stretch. And suddenly we're building value off the players on our roster. We're moving things around. And it's just been fantastic, man. And as you get into season, it's going to give you weather reports on every game. It's really a wealth of knowledge. You could spend hours going down the rabbit hole. And, like I say, in our early conversations, I think both you, I, and Art have all started to do that. So I'm going to let you guys do some of the deep dives here, but very excited to be partnered with RotoWire, code F4E, and just very excited to pull the most that we can pull out of this tool as we move forward.
No, that's beautiful, Dave. I mean, you summed it up perfectly. Like, guys, the options are really limitless when it comes to the RotoWire tool, and they've brought on a lot of great fantasy football minds from the industry over the past couple months. Guys like Theo Greminger, guys like Art has a guy, he'll sum it up right now, but Art's about to take you down his tier rankings a bit. Art's a big tier guy, and he's gonna tell you why you should tier out your players while you're drafting.
So, Alex, I appreciate you teeing that up. So over the years, I've tried to find advantages on how I can myself.
One sec. Who's the other guy that RotoWire just brought in? Is Ian something? Ian Holitz?
It's
That's your boy.
Ian Harditz.
Yes. Yes.
Ian Harditz, a Fantasy Life alum and just, yeah.
You see, you guys.
Yeah, Ian's the guy, man. His rankings are always spot on.
So, sorry to cut you off, Art, but go ahead. I want to make sure we got that guy out there.
You're good. I've been reading Ian Harditz's pieces for the last 3 years, and faithfully reading his pieces for the last 3 years. I have so much fantasy content that fills my email inbox, and when I see a particular article coming up with his name on it, I'm clicking on it. No bullshitting. It's not what we do here. Mm-hmm. We are open, and we talk, very clearly about what we want. Years ago, Dave and I started talking about fantasy experts that we love, and we're really into understanding why they do what they do. Well, they have tools just like this, and that's how it all happens. So I honestly, as Dave mentioned, the biggest part of what we're seeing with this tool via RotoWire is there's so many things you can customize to your own league. And that's the best part. If you're not customizing your research and the data to back it up with current up to the minute data, and stories from reporters, you're not going to have the most current information to make your decisions. You're going to be behind fellow league mates. And frankly, let's be honest with it, right? With everyone out here. When you hear us talking about this, it's for the right reasons. Like, again, no bullshitting. If you're not getting aboard with this tool, guess what you're doing? You're giving your league mates an advantage. And if your league mates listen to us, you know they're getting that tool. So let's just use that as a baseline, okay? Now back to the tiers idea. For years, I've drafted with tiers because I think ADP is a great tool, but it changes frequently. That's a good thing and a bad thing. If you're not adapting your ADP to your tiers, you're just going off really basic data. You're going off of what the industry tells you, and that doesn't mean there's experts telling you that. That means what your league mates and other people in the fantasy world are drafting players at. That's all fine and dandy, but use that with an understanding that it's not going to be the end all be all. So having tiers is important. By using RotoWire, you can set really firm and honest, and I think that's the biggest thing about the tiers when I've designed them over the years, and this helps me make these tiers easier, is being honest with where a player switches levels. So if we're going to be honest with you, looking deeper into what type of tiers and why it matters is if I'm looking at my wide receiver tiers, okay? It's very clear to me that Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, and JSN, for me, could all be the number one receiver this year. There are other players that could factor into that, but those are my three guys that if I was to say, gun to head, who could be a top one receiver, one of one this year, those are my three guys. Everyone else, the percentages are considerably lower. So on my ranks, my first tier for wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, and JSN in that particular order, right? You think potential, you think past results, you think the full situation of who's around them in their universe. For example, I love Chris Olave. I don't think Chris Olave could be the top receiver in the league this year. I'd put almost every cent I have that he can't be the number one receiver in the league this year. I'd get really crappy odds, but honestly, when it comes down to it, it's just not really possible. Yeah, he could be a top 7 receiver. That's reasonable. But Chris Olave is in my third tier, and he's my overall number 12 receiver. That's an actual reasonable spot to be in. But the reason I say that is because Chris Olave is in the middle of my third tier. What I want to do if I'm drafting, I want to try to pick a guy at either the bottom of a tier, because I know that means his potential is higher than the guy at the top of the next tier, or somewhere in that middle of the tiers. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be in those spots. I'm getting very, very granular on how I'm describing this to you right now. But when it comes down to it, you have to be honest with making these tiers yourself. And the RotoWire tools all help you do that on a more intense level. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's clear to me in a position like tight end, the two tight ends that could really do it, even though there's a bunch of talent at tight end. And I might be wrong when I say this, but my top two tight ends are Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. Okay? And I think for a lot of reasons that makes sense. I also think a guy like Tyler Warren, we talked about it earlier with the opportunities in Indianapolis, right? The quicker Daniel Jones comes back and the less that receivers injured ahead of Tyler Warren, from a receiving perspective, he's a tight end, aren't seeing the field and Caleb Downs gets a jump up in rankings, it's important to know the opportunities there. And with that being said, yeah, sure, Tyler Warren could be the top tight end this year in fantasy, but I don't think it's obvious that he could. So Tyler Warren is a tier 2 tight end, and he is my number 5 tight end, right? There are lots of ways we can go through this. We'd be talking about this for ages. But when it comes down to it, you have to be honest with yourself. And the easiest way to do that is with the tools on RotoWire. And not only is it going to give you really highly analytical results, okay, it's going to do it immediately. Don't go to your easiest AI site for the information. I'm not going to pick any of them out in particular. I'm not that guy. But if you're going to use this tool, you're going to see results. And I'll give you one prime example of this, okay? So going through my wide receiver tiers, I wanted to test out the system to see really how good it could get, how deep the knowledge is. And so I went into the cheat sheets tab, and in there's an area that says, who should I draft? Okay? Really simple. I thought to myself, I am high on 2 guys, and I just, for shits and gigs, want to know what RotoWire thinks of Devonta Smith and Ladd McConkey. Because in most people's ADP and in most experts' rankings, they're either 2 or 3 spots apart from each other. Both have prominent roles. Both are number one wide receivers on their teams, but they're not atop my tiers. So I want to know where to rank them at. So click them both in a half PPR setting, because you can break it down by PPR, half PPR, and standard point scoring, which is awesome. You can get as granular as you need to. It's very helpful. And here's what the tool bounces back to me. Devonta Smith projects as 7.3 more half PPR points for the season. Well, 7 points isn't very much. So let me go and look a little deeper, right? Apparently, Devonta Smith, his floor is higher, but Ladd McConkey's ceiling is higher. So how are you drafting? Are you drafting like Alex and Dave and I? Are you drafting with potential in mind? Or do you want to be safe? Well, the tools in here will let you set up your drafting strategy to say you want to be safe in the first couple of rounds and riskier in your later rounds. That is not normal. And it's beautiful. You got to utilize this tool in front of you. Like it's something I'm passionate about. It saves me time. Okay. You guys know I have a little girl and soon to be stepson here, right? Like I've got a lot going on in life, busy career, busy working through the pod. Not as busy as Alex is, because he is a magic man when it comes to producing the pod. Gotta love Alex. Please give Alex all the props.
Round of applause for Alex. Does all the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
shout
all
him
the
out.
heavy lifting. But to dig further into it, right? Not only do I get the idea of how many targets are projected for those guys, how many touchdowns are projected, the floor, the ceiling, the breakdown by the PPR points, the scoring, but I also, in the same exact page, you just scroll down and you can see the overall fantasy outlook for Devonta Smith, the overall fantasy outlook for Ladd McConkey, and really, I mean, come on now. It's everything in one place. Don't risk your success in a league on hunches, because we all fail there.
Yeah.
Don't risk it on maybe like a buzzy thing you hear on ESPN in the morning. Base it on analytics, base it on real reports, and it's all in one spot. Folks, I'm telling you, you'd be silly not to get on board with RotoWire. It's really just that simple. So, look, if you want to save time, if you want to make it easier on yourself, if you want to win and win big, we all talk about high stakes. The three of us aren't in any bullshit leagues. We're in real legitimate leagues. We're in multiple legitimate leagues. We're not trying to do anything but smash our opponent's head into the dirt. This is how you do it. End of rant.
Love it, Art. Love it. Love it.
No,
Phenomenal.
Art, I love that, Art, man. And I'll tell you what, Art, I think the tier thing is so important, and I love to hear you give that to our listeners, because let me tell you what I've always found tiers do for me in drafts that I just think is of the utmost importance. Tiering your players is how you find value, right?
Yep.
We've all been there. We do the mock drafts, we build these teams that look amazing, and then draft day comes and you're 2 rounds in and it's like, this doesn't look anything like what happened when I mock. And we know it, man. The people in our leagues, they fall in love with a player, they pull them early. There's guys that you never expected to be there. Well, when you have those tiers, and you have those tier 2 receivers that are receivers 4 through 8, and suddenly you're at the end of round 2, the turn of round 3, and you see one of those guys sitting there because everybody else became enamored with a player, that's where you go, all right, it's time to stack value. This is a tier 2 wide receiver that I'm grabbing in the 3rd round. Now suddenly I have an advantage at that position over the people in my league. And, when you get fixated on a player or an ADP spot like Art alluded to there, that's where you miss out on the opportunity to cash in on value. Tiers open that up to go, this player shouldn't be here right now. This guy should have gone in this group of receivers. For whatever reason he's fallen, I'm going to go grab him right now, and then that's a positional advantage. So I love everything you put out there, Art.
I absolutely have to say this. Okay? During every draft, I've never been in a draft, aside from a mock draft. Mock drafts, things go silly and sideways because there are, robots drafting for people that didn't fill their spots. In a draft where there are real people, okay? And sometimes in a draft where maybe there's an auto pick set, someone's going to go put their kid to bed. I don't know what it is, right? There will always be runs on players you don't expect.
Yep.
And that's where the brilliance is found. You have got to know your tiers to capitalize there, because there will be a guy that is going to come out of the 9th through 17th round who is going to win you a championship. It may not win you a championship. It may put you in the top 3, whereas
Right.
you were to finish outside of the playoffs previously.
Yep.
That guy. You've got to find those guys. And this tool on RotoWire will help you get there. You can fight against that by having accurate tiers and being honest with how you build those tiers out.
No, that's
Love it.
amazing, Art. And I think the greatest thing you said is, when you get those runs, like knowing what to do when you see those runs, because we've all been there, right? We're all like, oh, there's 10 running backs left on the board in a 12-team draft, like that I would draft right now. And so you're like, all right, like I'll take any of these guys coming back. I'll take a wide receiver right now. And then what happens? All those 10 running backs come off the board. So then you have to pivot. You're like, well, I didn't like the other 3 running backs that just came off the board. Like, so now I'm gonna have to go tight end, and then you're sitting there with 1 running back, and you're waiting till way later in the round that you want to get your RB2. So having those tiers ready and just being like, okay, I still want a running back. This guy's at the top of my list. Where are they compared to the other positions that I could use, I see value in, and then using your tiers to be like, no, like all these guys came off the board, but this guy is stuck there. That was in tier 5 that nobody touched. But I have him ranked higher than anybody else. That's where you utilize that. So what I did, everybody,
Let me
is
also say,
yeah,
Alex, I do have to put one more point there just to help make your point, right? If you are a person who believes in 0 RB strategy, for example, right, where you don't take a running back in the start, first portions of your draft, maybe first, second, and third round, and you really, really need a running back, if you're drafting without tiers, you're dead in the water. Yep. You are completely unaware of what your opponents are doing. You are not going to make it through. You're just not going to make it. That's it.
No, that's absolutely right. Like, you have to be prepared, especially when you go in a strategy. Like, I'm not taking any running backs for the first 8, 9, 10 rounds. Like, you got to have a strategy, so you have to have these rankings available. But what I did, to Dave and Art's point, is I dove into the tool as a seasoned fantasy football manager, and I wanted to look for a couple discrepancies. And when we went on our pint-sized pod, I spoke about my favorite wide receivers and my favorite quarterbacks that I want to draft based on ADP. But what I want to get into today is a couple of running backs. Actually 3, 4 running backs per se, like 2 to 3 points that I found utilizing the RotoWire tool, and just a couple discrepancies that I found. And let me tee this up with, I am not a guy that can sit there and look at a graph, look at a chart, look at a spreadsheet, and be like, bam, 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 bam. Like, I know this is weird, that's weird, like, that's off. Like, I am not that guy. I'm very much like a vibes guy. I'm an eye test guy when it comes to football. Like, I am not the guy. But RotoWire makes it so easy for even like people like me that aren't super analytical, super data forward. We're able to go into this tool and find discrepancies. And my first take to the RotoWire fantasy tool that I found is that DeAndre Swift is a better running back than Kenneth Walker. And Kenneth Walker is coming off the board at running back 8. And as we all know, he is in a different situation than he was in Seattle. He has a better running back coach who, as we all know, in the past recent days, as we record on, July 29th, Wednesday, 2026, there's been a couple of things with Eric Bieniemy and his family that is very sad to hear, and we don't wish on anybody. Prayers up to everything he has going on right now. But with all that encompassing, Kenneth Walker coming off the board at running back 8, and DeAndre Swift coming back at running back 23, where Kenneth Walker was running back 22 in 2025, and DeAndre Swift was running back 15 in 2025. Like, that, a 15 running back gap just feels so large, and like it just feels like us as fantasy managers, we're really not looking at how those running backs produce, where as opposed to what our feelings are with the recent signings in the offseason, with Kenneth Walker winning Super Bowl MVP. And the reasons why I like Swift is he had more touchdowns in 2025 than Kenneth Walker has ever hit in his career in a single season. Like, last year, DeAndre Swift had 10 touchdowns. He's had multiple seasons with double-digit touchdowns, where Kenneth Walker has never topped 9 total touchdowns. Also, yards after contact. We're in the NFL. Players are going to get hit. DeAndre Swift finished in 2025 at 3.5 yards after contact, where Kenneth Walker would finish at 3 yards after contact. That half yard matters, especially when it comes to short down situations, especially when it comes to overall stats. Like, that half yard ends up being a big point. And when we talk about receiving, not the best thing, but one of the great things RotoWire does is it breaks up rushing stats and receiving stats. And DeAndre Swift is running back 21 in receiving, and this is points per game. I know Kenneth Walker missed time last year. DeAndre Swift was running back 21 in points per game. When it comes to receiving, Kenneth Walker was running back 29. And, I mean, to be completely honest with everybody, Kenneth Walker has never eclipsed running back 15 as an NFL player. So why are we drafting him at running back 8? Because he's on a new team, because he got a big contract, because he received the Super Bowl MVP, when we all know about the teams that he played. It's like, it doesn't make a lot of sense that there's a 15 player gap between DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Walker. You guys got any takes on that one?
I'll say this, Alex. I think my point is more about, really, maybe it's not so much the devaluing Kenneth Walker or seeing DeAndre Swift as higher, potentially, although I can see your point for both. I think there's some interesting guys between Kenneth Walker and DeAndre Swift that I have an interest in higher than I do Kenneth Walker. And It's a Johnny-come-lately scenario. I do think where Kenneth Walker is going to gain this year is going to be in touchdowns. I do think KC is going to be very cognizant of not letting Patrick Mahomes injure his body any worse than he has in the past. Okay.
Right.
I do also think that Travis Kelce is less effective because of, ultimately, I mean, he's just getting older. It's simply the case, right? So Mahomes may be more pocket locked than he's been in the past. And I do see Kenneth Walker getting more touches as far as inside of the 5-yard line. With that being said, there are a couple guys that I have an interest in, right? I have an interest in knowing what Breece Hall is capable of. And I'm not a huge believer in Cam Scatterbo, and I don't call him Scattaboo because his name is spelled Scatabo. I don't know why everyone goes with Scattaboo. Has he ever actually said his name is Scattaboo? With like a straight, not doing a backflip? I don't know. Let's just be clear. It's Scatabo in my book. Anyways, what about Quinshon Judkins? What about a guy that I've been high on for some time, Bucky Irving? Those are all guys that I think could really make more of a name for themselves than Kenneth Walker this year, and they're not in as sexy of situations. So not that I'm against your take for DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's in an absolute dynamic offense with Ben Johnson as his head coach. But I think it's the truth lies somewhere in between. You should probably see Kenneth Walker coming down, and you should see DeAndre Swift coming up a bit.
Oh, absolutely.
And Alex, if I have to give some feedback on your take there, when I listen to everything you presented there, my main takeaway is that we may be dramatically undervaluing DeAndre Swift. I don't necessarily think about Kenneth Walker or where he's going in a new high-powered offense, but I look at a guy like DeAndre Swift. Some of those guys that Art mentions there, Quinshon Judkins, like, there's no receiving work there. You just gave us what DeAndre Swift's receiving work is. I think we've mentioned it a couple times in the pod in the past here, but these teams tell us their opinions of players based on personnel decisions. They weren't holding back on giving Kyle Monangai carries at the end of the year. We know Kyle Monangai's role in this offense, but we also know DeAndre Swift's role in this offense. There was some talk going into the draft that, the Bears are going to invest in a running back at some point, and that never materialized, of any significant value. So they know what they have in DeAndre Swift. We know how they're going to use him. And we know the value that comes out of that. And so the reality is, I don't listen to that and think so much we're over or undervaluing Kenneth Walker, but I think there's tremendous value in DeAndre Swift in the role that he has in a very high-powered Chicago offense. So, I think it's a fantastic take. I do think, that there's another fantasy analyst that Art and I listen to that we respect very highly that always says, don't draft the role, or don't draft the potential, draft the player and the statistics that we know, basically. And a lot of what we're saying with Kenneth Walker is projection at this point. He has not been a bell cow, though they paid him like one and should use him as one.
Yep.
He has not held up for an entire season when attempting to get a starter's workload. And I think to pencil him in right now as a slam dunk top 10 running back just because he went to a Chiefs team that did not look good at many points last year, with a quarterback coming off of an ACL injury, a wide receiver that could get suspended and is coming off an injury himself, leading sort of that offense. Travis Kelce, that is probably did more activity dancing at his wedding than we could see on the field this year. Like, I think there's a lot of projection going into where we're taking Kenneth Walker right now that I don't think we've seen proof that the production is a guarantee. So I agree with the Walker take. I'm now looking at DeAndre Swift and thinking there's real value there. And I like everything about that take, man. That's well thought out, well researched. That's what we're bringing the people here. That's what we're bringing the people, Alex. That's F4E in a nutshell, man. And I love it.
And that's just using the RotoWire tool. Like, we have these awesome partnerships and we're trying to bring it to people. And the second take I have, guys, is right now, I think there's a lot of Gibbs glazing. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs compared to Bijan Robinson, I don't really understand why anybody would draft Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson when they have a chance. And that's where fantasy managers are going right now. Where in 2025, Bijan Gibbs saw 12% more snaps than Bijan Robinson, or Bijan Robinson saw 12% more snaps than Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, they signed a Super Bowl champion running back to back him up. Like, I don't think they're changing anything there. And last year in 2025, Bijan Robinson was running back 2, where Gibbs was running back 3. And yes, they're close. But if you think that there'll be an uptick in snaps for Jahmyr Gibbs, you're completely cutting Isaiah Pacheco out of the equation. And I understand if the Lions did not invest in a running back behind Gibbs in this offseason, I would be like, yes, wheels up for Gibbs, to the moon. But the fact of the matter is that he signed Isaiah Pacheco. And in reality, like, Isaiah Pacheco, we are having the same recency bias that we have for Kenneth Walker that we're using for Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs were a bottom 10 rushing offense last year with Matt Nagy, and he was hurt for a few games last year and coming off an injury, so Pacheco was definitely struggling as they missed the playoffs last year. And really where this take came from was running through the RotoWire rankings, looking at the rushing averages, looking at the receiving averages, and when I'm seeing Montgomery's name, I'm seeing Pacheco's name right under it, where yards after contact, Montgomery was at 26.5 and Pacheco was at 23.5. They both had a broken tackle rate around 11%, and Montgomery in a better offense had 42 yards per game, where Pacheco had 35 yards per game. So I don't think all these points tie together, where I don't think Gibbs is going to get a better snap count this year and outsnap Bijan Robinson. So Bijan Robinson should be, if you have the 1.1, should be your number 1 pick off the board. And I think Pacheco is being extremely underdrafted, as according to RotoWire, he's running back 58, being drafted at 186. And he's basically free right now, where we could see him finish as Montgomery did last year at running back 22, a running back 2, or even a running back 3 that you're drafting at running back 58. Like, that is a no-brainer. There's so much value in Isaiah Pacheco. Stop drafting Gibbs over Robinson, and make sure you're using code F4E for 10% off your first purchase with RotoWire's fantasy football tool, and you will find out, you will have statistics like this to really help you this year in draft season.
Listen, Alex, when you're talking about the RB1 versus the RB2, the one thing you said that jumps off the page right there is 12% more snaps.
Yep.
I believe that was how you put it, than Jahmyr Gibbs. Those opportunities count. And to your point, Pacheco, I think, is more of a 1-for-1 replacement for Montgomery than anybody is really giving him credit for at this point. He looked better down the stretch. It was clearly a slow start to the year coming off injury, but he started to take over that backfield a little bit and look more like Pacheco. Detroit isn't bringing him in to be 1B, but they are bringing him in to make sure that Gibbs stays healthy and has an appropriate workload because they have playoff aspirations. So,
exactly.
Bijan is kind of one of one sitting there. And you're exactly right, man. If you're sitting at that 1-1 or that 1-2 and you get a crack at both of those guys, it can make a real difference in your season. Especially you're not picking again until you come the whole way back. You're pick 23, 24 on the turn. Like, you've got to nail that first pick. It's got to be the guy that's going to give you the most value. And, those are the things, those are the metrics we need to be looking at as we're trying to differentiate between these guys. I love it.
Yes. No, let's go. No, the RotoWire fantasy tool has been so helpful. Like Dave teed up earlier, we all took different aspects from that tool. So whatever you're searching for, it's going to give you value at that point. And I don't know if we lost Art, he might pop back up, but I mean, it's time to find out the draft order, right?
Let's get it.
Let's go. All right, so the draft order. So right now, announcing we are going to host a 12-hour per pick slow draft for the F4E Invitational starting August 8th, Saturday at 10 a.m. And now we are about to start up the draft order with this fun spinning wheel I grabbed. So, and the way we're going to run this is if you get picked, you get number 1, number 2, then number 3, and we're going to go down to number 12. So first person that gets picked off the spinner wheel doesn't have a choice. They have the 1.1. So I loaded everybody that joined the league, everybody we explained earlier.
Yeah.
So let's do this. And we're spinning.
Can we hold this up to the camera, Alex? So there's no we don't want questions, we don't want concerns. We want this to be on the up and up.
All right, we're spinning. Absolutely. We're spinning. We got the wheel. We are looking at Ryan Boyle has the 1.1. Wow.
Oh my gosh. I already don't like this kid. I don't know him, but man.
Yeah, Ryan.
After the mock draft and now getting the 1.1.
I mean, I don't like him either, but he's my buddy, so that's kind of how friends work, right?
Let's hope he takes Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Let's hope he takes Jahmyr Gibbs.
Let's hope he doesn't listen to takes Gibbs. All right, let's go for 1.2. Let's see. We are holding it up. We are spinning the wheel. We got the sound. We got we got Short Brian. Shorty got the 1.2.
I'm going to tell you, he texted me before we started recording and said, I'm going to be the third pick. He texted me beforehand and said, I'm getting pick number 3. I know it. So yeah, to take the number 2 pick, Shorty, congratulations. Congrats.
There you go. All right, let's see. Pick number 3. We're holding it up on the camera. We're clicking. All right, who's mucking at the 1.3? Wow, these guys, I'm getting a little jealous. I'm like, when is my name going to be called? All these guys are going to Josh
Wait,
Allen.
who was number 3? Who was number 3?
Mucking, my boy.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to do another spin. All right, we got the sound. 1.4. And Pollock. Is that Arts Guy?
I'm guessing that's Arts Guy Matt.
Yeah, that's Arts Guy Matt. All right, let's get him out of the wheel. Let's spin again at the 1.4. We are moving on to the 1.5. We're spinning. Art is the 1.5. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be one of us. Like, we were getting Art the 1.5. Very interesting. Josh Allen's going to be off the board. We're going to have to see.
Alex.
I know Dave's itching. Look at him. Dave's like, where's my pick? All right.
Let's go. I just have a feeling you and I are going to be next to each other. It's
yeah,
going to be you and I.
We're going to be 111 and 112. Yeah, and just sneak each other the whole time. All right, my boy Pip, Rob Pluck. Pip is one. Dave, we're
that's your crew off the board in the top half of the draft. Am I correct?
No, yes, that's except for yours truly.
Yeah, except for you. Your 3 entrants are all gone at this point.
Right?
And only one host in the top half of the draft. It is indeed.
All right, let's spin it. We got Tommy TC8, who actually has a really good name. I forgot what was his name.
2 of Art's guys and Art, 3 of your guys.
He's like Yins or something. I was like, oh, that's a good name. That's a good fancy name. All right. Or that was 1.7. My apologies, not 1.7. Now we're on 1.8. Jackpot.
Jackpot is my brother-in-law and my nephew.
Wow. We got everybody coming off. All
coming
right,
in at
5
the 8th
left.
spot. Everybody but us coming off, Alex, is how it's going.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
I already told you how it's going to go, Dave. Like, that's how we're doing it. Oh, that's you. Dave's off the board. What was that? 1-9? 1,
me
2,
in the
3,
9
4,
spot.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a good spot to have this year.
I'll take
All
it.
right, down to the final 4. All right, last 4. Let's see how it goes.
It's going to be you.
That's me.
It's me and you now.
That's me.
I told you, you and I were drafted
right
next to each other. It was destiny.
Right next to each other.
Destiny.
We're gonna be taking our guys the whole draft. We're just gonna be cursing each other out. All right, final 3. We got Gordo, who doesn't wear a shirt in his Instagram profile picture. We got Stevie Style, and oh no, that's it. All right, we got 2 left. It comes down to this: Stevie Style at 11, and then Gordo at 12. And that's what you get for not wearing a shirt. That's what you get for not wearing a shirt in your Instagram profile picture.
I think it's like a skin tone colored shirt.
Yeah,
I think it's a skin tone colored shirt.
It's like a mesh shirt or something like that. Like
we've been friends a long time. He's not a shirt off or a mesh shirt guy, but we need to clearly talk to him about his profile pic for sure.
We'll get him on the pod. We'll see what's up with it. We'll figure it out together.
Absolutely.
No, but that's great. Like I said, starting at 10 a.m. next Saturday, August 8th, we got the draft board down. This will be launched on Monday. What is that? August 3rd, week of the draft. So make sure everybody listen to this pod. Dave, you got anything else for people?
No, man, just excited to get the league rolling. Happy that, like I say, football is officially back. We're in training camp. You know, it's been a good time through the summer, but the content becomes crucially meaningful at this point. So tell everybody, stay tuned. F4E to get on the tool with the discount. It's crunch time, guys. It's crunch time. The draft is going to be here before you know it. Regardless of your league, let's be prepared.
No, absolutely. It's draft season, everybody. Make sure you listen, like, follow, share. Thank you for listening. As always, remember, fantasy football is for everyone. And for Art, Dave, and Alex, F4E out.